Hey, what up? So I just saw Charlie Kaufman's new movie. I'm thinking about ending things, and I just wanted to talk about it because it was so good. So I watched it last night, so maybe 12 hours ago or so, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. I could barely sleep, and that's all I could think about. It was incredible. I loved it. It was so good. If you don't know who Charlie Kaufman is, like, what the fuck are you doing with yourself? He's one of the best writers in Hollywood at the moment. Probably my favorite screenwriter, and he's been directing his own movies recently, but normally he's written for other directors like Spike Jonze, and he wrote what am I trying to think of? Adaptation, being John Malkovich. He wrote and directed Anomalisa, which is maybe the best animated movie. Like, definitely the best animated movie. And definitely, yeah. Who knows? And now this. So his new movie, I'm thinking about ending things, is on Netflix right now. It was released a couple of days ago. Go watch it. I don't know if it should be your first Charlie Kaufman movie, so maybe go watch another Charlie Kaufman movie if you haven't seen it. I would recommend, Being John Malkovich would be a good starting one, I would say, or Adaptation. They're kind of movies that you watch together though. But yeah, and then come back to this. So, thank you for going to watch Adaptation or Being John Malkovich if you hadn't already. So, this movie starts. Starts with a family dinner with the character Jake and his girlfriend, and Jake's parents, and he's trying to introduce his new girlfriend to his parents. All the while, her inner monologue of his girlfriend is talking about how she wants to break up with him and all this stuff. And that's the end of the conventional plot of this film. This film it's a nightmare. It's incredible. It reminds me of the BoJack Horseman episodes where they kind of go to the super absurdist level. So I think it's like the 9th episode in every season, because normally they do like 10 episodes. And it's like the 9th episode that is like super absurdist and it's like a nightmare. It's like a drug trip. You don't know what the fuck's going on. Anything could happen. And that's what this movie is. Like every scene can just transition into another setting, or a person could be at a different age, or nothing makes sense. It's crazy. It was so enjoyable, and it's riveting. It's so riveting. And so the main thing I really liked about the changing of the scenes and stuff and the ages is seeing Charlie Kaufman, seeing Jake's parents at different ages throughout their lives. So Tony Collette and what is that dude's name? I got the letterbox open. David Thurles. He's in a lot of Charlie Kaufman movies, and he was great too. But so Tony Collette and David Thurles was the parents, and they played it so well, getting really old and having like Alzheimer's and forgetting things, but then also, being a lot younger but having like a lot of older humor. It was very enjoyable. Like it seemed like they were really changing characters. I thought that the makeup and stuff wasn't that amazing. I think that's one of the downfalls of this movie, but other than that, like, you could tell that they were meant to be different ages, and it was very good. So yeah, this movie really feels like a dream. So like, it is going to different locations, different settings, going across, and it's just, everything is changing like it's random, and it's so fun. I think it's the closest thing I've seen in cinema of something feeling like an actual dream. Like, it's kind of what like Nolan's Inception was trying to be. Like, obviously it's nothing in comparison to this movie, but like it's trying to be kind of absurdist, because like in your dreams, you can't remember how you got to certain locations, what you're talking about. Like, nothing makes literal sense like it would if it was just on a screen, like in a movie, right? Like, maybe a dream could have a coherent story, maybe, or like a story going across, but because you're not awake, you're not really paying attention to it too much. So then you feel like, what's the term I'm thinking of? Like, the whole dream isn't really linked together cohesively. And that's what this feels like. It feels like so much shit going on. And it's full of this movie is also full of a lot of scenes of just Jake and his girlfriend sitting in the car talking, with like pretty like amazing monologues. Like that, like, Charlie Kaufman is such a good writer. Like, it was clear that, because he recently wrote a book. I haven't read it. It's called Ant Farm, I believe, or Ant People or something. I feel like this is the closest thing Charlie Kaufman's got to more like a play feel. Like, it seems like he's written these lines for Shakespearean characters to read out, and it's poetry, and it's beautiful. It's amazing. Like, I had so much fun hearing them talk and, you know, communicate like this in such long sentences, and talking about like a vast variety of things. So, like, ultimately, like, I feel like the story is the character Jake looking back at his life on his deathbed as he's dying. Right at the end of the movie, you see like an older version of him, and it was scattered through. The older version is scattered throughout the film, but you see him die at the end and flash back to other parts of the movie that we've already seen. And I feel like this is him looking back at his life and what he's accomplished and the people he has met and things like that. And, like, obviously, I need to watch this movie way more, so many more times to really get, like, grasp what Kaufman's going for. But that's what I get from this. This is, like, his deathbed, like, dream state, you know, thinking about all these different scenarios and situations, very abstractly as well. And it was very enjoyable to watch. Well, another thing I found really interesting about the way this was written is how the film is from the girlfriend's perspective, from Jake's girlfriend's perspective. So it's in a monologue the entire movie, talking about how she wants to break up with Jake and other, like, situations that she's thinking about and other issues that she is thinking about. Yet the movie is ultimately about Jake and about Jake's life and his experiences and stuff and his regrets. I'm thinking, and it's very clever. I think it's a little bit of misdirection, even though, like, you do see, like, older version of Jake throughout the film, and it's kind of clear that they're the same person. Like, they hinted at really early on with, well, even though I already kind of picked up on it, but there was a scene where his girlfriend's going through a dryer and finding all these janitor clothes in there, and that's the clothes that the old man is wearing throughout the film, because he's a janitor, and that's his clothes. But, yeah, like, It is very interesting. It's a very interesting way to frame the movie and to structure the narrative. And I enjoyed it. Like, I found it, like, refreshing. You know, very interesting. Like, it could have just been all from his perspective and his girlfriend be more of just this metaphoric character. Even though she is, because she doesn't have a name. Well, her name keeps changing throughout the film. Maybe to show that he's had lots of girlfriends and never really settled down. Or maybe just to show that she's more metaphoric to ideas around his life. But I still feel like she was such a deep character because of all these different ideas. Like, her profession kept changing. Like, they kept talking about how she was a waitress and how she was a physicist and a student and all these things. It was very enjoyable to watch and go. And well, a lot of the time I was like, wait, did I mishear this movie? Well, why did I think she was a physicist? And then later go, oh, they're just fucking with you. Fuck you, Charlie Kaufman. Yeah, it's so great. Even though I feel like ultimately the story is about Jake's, like, looking back at his life and what his regrets in his life, I feel like there's so much, like, so many metaphors in this that and ideas and symbols about all sorts of things. It really reminds me of David Robert Mitchell's Under the Silver Lake, where it had, like, this cohesive... Well, it was more of a cohesive story than this, right? But it had this story and this plot, and like an underlying message that you could grasp from it. But there was also all these other scattered underlying messages. Like, I feel like in I'm thinking about ending things. It's a lot about who you are as a person and what makes you an individual and what's going on in your psyche and all these things. And something that Charlie Kaufman talks about in a lot of his films, like Anomalisa and Being John Malkovich and Adaptation. You know, who is a person, about their consciousness, all these things. And it's something that I think is really interesting and something that Charlie Kaufman is really able to tackle with, like, some really interesting ways. You know, he's very intelligent. Like the way he writes is incredible. It is, like, I really want to read his book. I'm not a big reader, but I guess I should read his book. It's great. I really enjoy it. Yeah, so I definitely need to watch this movie, like, a couple more times. At least once more, you know, but probably a couple more to really really get to the root of it. It's a bit spooky, it's a bit thrilling, lots of not horror cliches, but a few tropes that I find, like, there's no, like, jump scares, but a few things that I was like, this is a bit, like, I've seen this stuff before, but, like, it was fine. Like, you can still have tropes. And it's not Charlie Kaufman's best movie. It's, like, it's not, I haven't seen Synecticy New York, which is the first movie that he directed. So he directed Synecticy New York, Anomalisa, and now this. I think this is better. This isn't as good as Anomalisa. Anomalisa is better than I'm thinking about ending things. And I don't know about Synecdoche, New York. I haven't seen it. I think based on what he's written as well, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is probably better than this. I need to rewatch that. I haven't seen that in a while. But Adaptation and Being John Malkovich is definitely better. It's sad to say that I think this is, like, one of his weaker films, and that's ridiculous, because it's better than most shit out there. Like, I saw Tenet the other day, and I really enjoyed it, right? Like, I really liked it, but, like, in comparison to this movie, fucking Nolan's got nothing on him. Nolan has nothing on Charlie Kaufman. Charlie Kaufman is incredible. He is such a great writer. He's really coming into his own as a director. I'm glad he's directing his own stuff, because normally he worked with directors like Spike Jonze. But now, like, he's really coming into his own and making his own stuff, and it's great. I really enjoy it. I feel like it pushes back the amount of Charlie Kaufman movies we could get. If he's writing and directing, that holds back when he can be, writing for the next movie, because he's also directing, if that makes sense. But I like how he's cohesively making his own stuff now, instead of it being a collaborative effort with someone else. It is, I really enjoy it. So I've given this 4.5 stars at the moment, which, I think there are a few flaws, especially in the makeup, and I think it even though I really did enjoy all the monologues and stuff, I feel like some of them lulled a little bit. Like, it was a bit tedious to watch a little bit, and, like, I caught myself looking at the clock a couple of times, going, when's this movie wrapping up? Even though I was really enjoying myself. And there was this conversation about the song "Baby It's Cold Outside," which I feel like it's done to death. Like the argument of whether it's a rapey song, whether it's not, and, like, maybe Charlie Kaufman was writing this before it was a big thing, or, like, just as it became a thing. But, like, it's so overblown and so overused that it's kind of annoying. But they're very minor. Like, that doesn't affect my rating for it. That's just a bit of a thing I noticed that I wasn't too into. But yeah, tell me what you thought, and tell me what you think this movie fucking means. I would love to watch it again, and in my best director series, I would love to do a video on Charlie Kaufman. Charlie Kaufman is incredible. I love him so much, and so yeah, I'd love to make a video on, like, movies like Anomalisa, movies like Adaptation and Being John Malkovich, and then I could talk about this movie again once I've watched it more, get more in-depth analysis, listen to other people talk about it and see what they got out of it, because I've always found it interesting to see what other people get out of film, because it's not just what the director interpreted or what you get out of it, it's also important what other people get out of it, and think, why didn't I think of this, right? Why didn't this pop out to me? Why didn't I get this out of the film? Like, why is this? And I find that's a really interesting way to watch films, because then when you watch it again, you can see it from a new lens. And I think that's what I can do with this movie. Yeah, so cheers for watching, and yeah, so let me know how you like this movie in the comments. Cheers.